Welcome to everyone, in particular to the Congolese side participants. We hope we'll be able to share experiences and perspectives in an enriching way. This webinar is the second in a series of 3 organized by ELAN and its partners to tackle the evolution of the coffee sector in the eastern part of Congo. And actually, yes, that sector has seen a very quick evolution during the last 10 years. We'll go back to that evolution and above all, share the experiences and perspectives and visions and of course the different challenges that the actors are confronted with in Congo regarding Café. During the first webinar, some here do remember that there were coffee buyers, importators above all, who shared their experiences and the motives why the Congolese coffees do interest them. They were very enthusiastic towards Congolese coffee. They mentioned the exceptional quality they identify in those coffees, the fact that there's every time more traceability, sustainability in Congolese coffees. And also, I would stress that in a country where there are many challenges in a whole lot of stages and aspects, this coffee chain may be well organized to have a positive impact in the families and their livelihoods. Without waiting more, I would like to introduce the first person, the first one of my colleagues. We'll proceed this way, introducing all of my colleagues one by one. First, I want to present or introduce Adler Palata, who will give us an overview of what he has lived as a coffee grower and in the east part of Congo during the last years. Thanks, Adler. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Thank you for the organization, especially to Kevin. As Richard was saying, Adler Palata, I'm an agronomical engineer, and I'm working with the Virunga Park in a project that consists in to support the coffee grain producers around the Virunga Park and to promote the cooperative. This coffee, specialty coffee, it's coming. For those who follow the first part of this webinar in September, our colleague Gazumba was explaining some evolution of the exports coming from Congo, that it was a shortage of, but after some experiences, we started recently to speak about the specialty coffee in 2005 with a cooperative that I like a lot. It's in Supati. That it's the mother cooperative of all the cooperatives that were developed developing this specialty coffee, and with the support with the twin between 2005, and they started with a cleaning station. It was making a very good work, and so many workers by the following years. Then we have other cooperatives, Mungano and some others, Soporo Cooperative, and in 2005, 2008, all the buyers started to work with the semi-washed coffee, and we have a series of cooperatives that continue to struggle to improve the quality of the coffee they're producing. This is coming from very far, because for the past 4 or 5 years, we had a very interesting experience. This experience at Kifu made come some buyers that came from all around the world, and some buyers from the United States and other parts in the world. We had some coffees of very good quality, and with this manifestation, we had so many cooperatives, and they had the chance to present all the different samples and to present what they can produce as quality coffee. And this made that so many people got interested in this production of coffee. Actually, we are following, going to, that it's promoting or encouraging all the producers to work with a specialty coffee. And this is what we're introducing right now, with putting some different coffees of specialty coffees and origin coffees that are having the name of the villages where they're produced, and giving all this background of the populations producing them. In this webinar, I'm certain that you're not going to be disappointed, and you're going to discover, as Richard was saying, that we're getting better with this production of, and thank you very much, and you won't be disappointed. Thank you very much, Adlar. It's a very interesting thing that you have said. I'm going to give the floor to Julie Kamungele. Julie, can you present your organization and speak about your experiences and all the challenges that you're facing? Thank you very much, Julie. I'm Julie Kamungele. Congo, Costa Rica. I'm directing to export, but I'm also representing IFCCA. We have made some elections, and I have given my post to Marie-Paul. That's something that we have created 3 years ago. What is IFCCA that I'm representing? It's a platform, a national platform that it's regrouping various members that are basically producers, women producers, organized in cooperatives, or that's regrouping NGOs and baristas and some tasters. So we have so many options and so many women that have so many options with this value chain, that we have two very first objectives: empowering women and hiring young people, and precisely the promotion of local consumption. Because why do we create IFCCA? It's that women are not represented enough, in different boards in the different cooperatives and private sector. We found that this representation of women with management and leadership was this pyramidal form that we need to encourage women that are not that present. So we need now, and we want to, it's to encourage women to change this pyramid. What are the activities that we have organized at IFCA? In our 3 years of existence, we have trained so many people. We have made a marketing of our coffee. We have organized the network where they're going to have some contacts with, and we have signed some alliances with other institutions that are in charge of women. It's AFCA, it's the African Fine Coffee Associations, and they're working with Africa. And we have also an alliance with the International Women Coffee Association. It's the World Association that it's taking care of women producing coffee. IFCA representing the Congolese chapter of these associations. Beyond that, this year we have created a coffee shop to support the second objective, to local consumption, and the coffee shops will help the population, the Congolese population, to taste their own produce. And we have some small points of sale that are attached to coffee shop. It's like a pilot exercise, and this is going to Norkiv Goma. We have we have so many challenges in our activity. The access to training and information. We have a deficit with concerning the training. With this value chain, they don't have enough connection with the internet. And with this, they cannot improve their knowledge, and they cannot access to international markets because they don't have the training or the information. The second problem, it's a logistical problem, as the roads are not good, so it's very difficult to go train a village, because we have to take the plane or to take the roads, and it's a very high cost. And it's difficult also to take the product to go to the big cities. And the other problem that we're facing with access with the financial products and the support of the state. The other problems, it's the custom, the habit. The women, as all the African women, they are under the responsibility of their husband. And when they have to go themselves to sell their own coffee, they are going to say that I cannot take this product to my coffee because I have to give my coffee to my husband. So that's the weight of the habits or the tradition. And the other problem, it's the climate change. It's a problem that it's a global problem, but it's very heavy with the RDC and the growers. They don't know exactly when we have to produce this product and when we have to produce. And the other problems that we're facing, it's the pandemic. The COVID pandemic and Ebola that have changed the conditions to produce. And the different solutions that we're promoting with the Congolese, it's to put an access to learning, because we know that the learning, it's going to improve the women's quality and they have to be trained, and all the obstacles that we have mentioned can be vanquished. We have to, all the private establishments, to get all these cooperatives for the women having this good managing, and we also promoting the mentoring to improve their own chain and to give us support. And given some other, we want to develop all the strategic alliances and put in some access to the plenary for the financial institutions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julie, for all this information. We're going to listen all the women's perspective in a few minutes. But before that, I would like to say we're going to have a little pause to get everybody following quite well, following the interpretation. Kevin, do you want to say something? Or we pass to Papi?
No, the interpretation is working great. I believe we can pass to Papi. Richard, if you may just want to direct people to utilize the question and answer feature.
If you have any questions, you can the questions that you can see in your screen. It's the Q&A. You can write down your questions, and we're going to answer them at the end. Like that, we can give all the floor to all the different participants. I'm going to introduce Papi Mukeba.
Is Papi still connected? Still online? I see his picture, but it doesn't move. Maybe it's a bad signal. It seems we've lost Papi. It's too bad, but we hope he'll join us soon. It's always an internal challenge, this one regarding internet and these networks from the RDC. It's wonderful. It's almost a miracle we can join this way, but it's true that internet, even the electricity, are not so stable or as much as we would like to. So while we're trying to find Papi, Zawadi, could you please share your experience as animator, main animator in the women's section of your organization? Thanks, Zawadi. You have to unmute yourself first. You have to click on your mic button. Let's go, but you're still muted right now. Thank you a lot, Richard, to have given me the opportunity to talk. I thank the presence of every one of us in this webinar. We also thank very much Kevin, the organizer, for having allowed us to take part. I'm Zawadi, Nzyavake, Vahamulwa. I'm the main animator of the COOPADE farm. I'm gonna try to talk about the contribution of the women coffee growers, given that our structure in the COOPADE is based on a women population participating. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, our activities are unfolding in the Congo Park. The organization has been created in 2014 and has dynamized its activities. The COOPADE farm has registered 546 women coffee growers and produces a potentiality of 3 loads a year. Those growing parcels are managed by women. We're going to talk about the context and creation of this cooperative, which I think is interesting regarding women's participation. Before, the ones managing all the activities were men. And in particular, managing the incomes of all agricultural activities. The women were participating and were giving a lot of efforts for those activities to grow and to bring fruits, but they were not recognized as being a part of those efforts. We were not rewarded by men. Given that the reason for the intervention of the COOPADE women was rooted in the activity of women widows that are the leaders. It seems that Zawadi's network has betrayed us now. Zawadi, do you hear us? We come back to you. So, the people deciding in their houses actually are women. And we understood that the women have to commit themselves in those men-managed activities. For them, the women, to be able to have a share in the incomes generating work. Because if the man doesn't involve her wife in all these activities, it's a shame, because the women are credible, are trustable in all this. And from the women's department in our cooperative, we began to organize ourselves and to encourage women, for them to become able taking part in those incomes management and use. The women department or section in organization has several goals, among which to encourage the women coffee growers to assume or to bear her own entrepreneurial activity. And to benefit from the incomes coming from those activities. We also have the aim of creating more autonomy for women. There are different other activities that can create incomes. Another aspect is to raise awareness for women around managing the Virunga Park and its protection. We really have, as women, to commit ourselves in that too, because we're the main actor in those activities. The woman has to encourage her surroundings, her own family, to involve in this. On the challenges level, there are a lot for women in our cooperative, among which the context for our intervention, where there's quite a high level of insecurity. We have lost agronomists because of violence, and we have developed intervention in that field too. There has been some quantity of coffee coming from our station, our washing station, bearing a message that was a peace message, because our members have to raise security in our activity zone. Another challenge, another difficulty is the situation of women as a marginalized population. Because of those challenges, the women in COOPADE, in our cooperative, are risking their lives, literally. Often we enter our field, our coffee field, but we don't know if we will come back alive or be raped. These are some of the challenges. We have to add the pandemic that has been affecting us. We can suggest as solution path or options the fact that the Congolese state has to commit itself more in the restoration of peace in our intervention zone. We also ask more support in competitiveness to encourage our efforts in the coffee sector. As far as experiences are concerned, we have identified 546 women coffee growers in our section, and out of these 546 women, the potentiality is to produce 3 lots a year. We also use food bio certification for our coffee exportation, and the fair trade certificate. Another point are training in which we take part as women. We also shipped a great quantity of coffee to different clients, among whom Legals, whole grains, the roasting actors in English. I couldn't end this presentation without mentioning the partnership, the Pan-African partnership through the Virunga Foundation that is supporting us really to access to the different clients. We want to thank them a lot. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Zawadi. I think that we will have so many questions for the following things. So, Papi Mukeba, we're going back to you, and thank you for insisting. Yes, can you present yourself and your work and your experience in this coffee sector? Please. You have to. We are not listening to you, Papi. Papi? Well, good morning, Richard, and it's a pleasure to be here and be joining this panel. I'm Papi Mukeba. I'm working SBC project that is working in the Kifu, in the South Kivu of this territory, Kabare, financé par USAID of the American government. And I'm working as in charge of the politics and in charge of this project. And it's a project that is working with the different cooperatives and based especially in coffee and other coffees in the value chain of coffee. And we're supporting all the cooperatives with 3 territories. In general, that's what I do, but my experience with coffee comes from at least 10 years ago. I started 10 years ago with different cooperatives, Equateur, South Kivu too, and I'm going to mention some other aspects that are quite important for the environmental aspect and the business politics, because they have my colleagues try to explain this and everything to what it's concerned to the, and we're going to mention some of the challenges we're facing right now that are evident and are in all RDC. We have 13,000 tons and 500 600 tons, and now the challenges are these products and some other aspects that we have. We don't have the dialogue and between this private and public sector, but we also have with all the interventions with the value chain, the weak between the different actors, between exporters, the cooperatives. We feel that it's a big challenge, and also the climate for businesses are not that well, and we had some frauds too. All the exporters, all cooperatives. I was saying, it's not a fiscal control, And that's a problem for us. That was and this is a very complex thing with the value chain. And we have a dark future with this. If I can mention some points. And working with ELAN, we have some facilities to create consultation. We can facilitate with IFCCA that allowed some discussions with the Congolese government. That was not it was a weakness of the dynamics of the private sector to dialogue with the public sector. And the very important point that they have mentioned is the reduction of the taxes to export. They have obtained 0.5% for the exports, and what it's so that reduces to 2.5%, and this fiscality it's 6% to. It was a great acquisition, and with this, IFCCA they were understanding too that it's a sector, a component, coffee, cacao. This with this experience, they have this these elements with the coffee and cocoa. It was a very good experience. But we see now, in the sector where I'm working, that the government, the Congolese government, especially for the coffee sector, they don't have any politics, and we don't have any policies, and we have a strategy that was promoted between 2010 and 2015, but with these actors, we didn't have only the private sector. We have developed a strategy for the specialty coffee of the Kivu, South Kivu. And those policies are touching the productivity, but also the experience of abroad and the other new countries, and to develop a strategy that is going to take in account all the financement, the businesses, but the investment too. And this allowed to have a vision, and all the actors of this value chain, and with the establishment, can try to inscribe themselves to develop that value chain. And I think that today the director have appreciated, and it's important that for us with the North Kivu and Equateur, it's a very important thing. But I would like to say too that the other aspect with the experiences we're going to find a very special event of specialty coffee and the Arabica that was in the United States. We didn't have any stand for the Congolese coffee, and it was a challenge for the Congolese coffee. And with this experience, the cooperatives that were participating, we cannot accept this thing. And they have regrouped in different producers and coffee and cocoa producers. How are they going to canalize this information through the cooperatives and with the government, and how can they be organized to be represented in the different big activities of IFCCA around coffee? And it was an acquisition too. So we're trying to dialogue with the public sector, with Kinshasa, to plea with the agriculture, and with this in according with the government, and the government it's trying to make them to trust them, and this is changing. But another important aspect, it was the weak knowledge for the investors to it, because we had We have facilitated some discussions or some dialogues with the different international buyers, with the coffee and the Congolese products. It's very well known, but it's a marketing problem. And it was a very good experience too, issued from of a very important element where we can have some investors. We wanted to support, and we have this discussion with the presentation of this strategy with the coffee coming from Kifu, South Kifu, and these investors, and everyone was to think about how can they support this value chain, and the Ministry of Commerce and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and these different buyers have, but unfortunately, with the coronavirus, it's a very important. The contacts are there. How can we do this in the invest and to have a very competitive benefit to the export, and the exporters, and they are happy to see this work that is being done. And with the fraud problem, we feel that with all the cooperatives to remove a point, we have a public service, the fiscal control, the tax control, and we have facilitated done this consultation between the two sectors, private and public, and they call that like alert committees, and together the government and the public sector have to find some solutions to reduce this fraud, and this is going to allow to have more exports, because we feel that we have some challenges. We have a very good production, but it's not also taken into account in RDC, or maybe it's going like behind and maybe beyond. A Lituri, it's a coffee. It's a Congolese coffee, but it's not recognized, and those are the challenges that we have. All these questions: how can we improve this value chain? And concerning, I know that the experience, it's too difficult to have it here and to participate with the IFCCA assembly. Julie have mentioned that. It's another platform to continue specifically to have all the women's questions, all this dialogue that it's talking about with the government to boost and to improve the sector coffee for developing the coffee sector. And those are our experiences and the challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Papi, for this very interesting presentation. I'm coming back to Benny and to Adela Palata. Once again, thanks a lot, Richard, to give me the word as a panel member during this wonderful webinar. I also thank all the participants having joined us to try to think about this whole coffee producing sector and how we can dynamize it again. So 1,000 thanks for the organizers. I'm gonna introduce myself, the ones having come a bit later. I'm Adela Palata. I work currently for Virunga Foundation. I do work in a project of which the aim is to support coffee growers being located around the National Park of Virunga. They gather in a cooperative for peasants' development. And the ambition of this Virunga project is to organize around 6,000 coffee growers and households who are focusing on coffee growing. They have been led to develop this crop, and we want to boost the strategic aspect of this sector to allow them guarantee their capital in this field. Regarding coffee growing in the National Park of Virunga, as I mentioned before, it's a sector that was very active and prolific in the country. We were producing around 100,000 tons a year, and we have lowered to 13 tons. And it cannot leave us inactive and leave us cold. We have to bring support to this active and producing population. Which strategy have we chosen to tackle the challenges we're confronted with? We've seen that the most of those coffee producers are in front of a great problem. They have the willingness to go on producing, but they have been confronted with difficulties. The first thing to do is to find buyers for these coffee quantities and for the cooperatives. That's why Femmes Afrique has grown a program allowing us to select buyers on the basis of a technique we have used at the beginning, trying to assess the different productions, taking into account that our two cooperatives are working in an environment of 1,200 to 1,800 meters, not so easy to access. So they're living in quite distinct conditions, and we had to select the quality of coffees on the basis of the micro washing stations they use. There are between 13 and 40 micro washing stations, and the coffees produced there are quite different on the acidity level, on their flavor, and we had to clarify and identify that diversity to show their potentialities to eventual buyers. And thank you to have allowed us to select the actors willing to go on with us and supporting the sector. It deals not only with quality, but only on the basis of the actual production. We did so. We now have 2 years of experience, and we want to guarantee that all coffees are processed in a different fashion. They're packaged differently, they're prepared differently, and that the hundreds of samples of different coffee varieties are sent to the buyers for them to taste this incredible variety or diversity. it's really an interesting experience because it gives the potential buyer the opportunity to understand the possibilities to consume origin coffees from Congo. By the way, I thank the experience of Zawadi. It's a coffee we succeeded in selecting and to make appreciate by the group of buyers that will go on choosing it. There are many buyers or potential ones interested in specific coffees from specific villages, and we want to go on supporting it on the long term. Among the challenges we're facing, there are the conditions in which they work, the security or insecurity conditions, the virus that burst. We have to face those challenges, and without that, the cooperatives had to be able to access to development funds, and we tried to create an access to finance relation, allowing the producers to be satisfied in their working conditions. Without that, we had to support the cooperatives to work in the long term and benefit of that kind of support to pre-finance the purchase of coffee. The contracts are presented before the season, and we triggered a financing process before the season. So if we succeed in getting more contracts, there will be more production too. We call to all the potential buyers to taste these coffees and to insert the contracts in a more long-term perspective to help these young cooperatives, to allow them go on and planificating their work. And I would like to share this experience of the challenge of exporting coffee, because these new cooperatives were producing coffee but selling it on a local level. And our vision was to allow them to have this experience of exporting their coffee. And you'll grow aware that Congo is working towards Uganda and Kenya. Congo is working with intermediaries, with middlemen that we don't have control over. And to sell coffee in Europe, in the United States, in Japan, for the ones being in the United States, for instance, they receive their container from Honduras or from Brazil without any main difficulty. But in the case of Congo, it's a real harsh challenge. And we want to go on working on that through cooperation. I think it's a relevant point, because through the fair trade certificate, in the case of which all the shareholders and the actors in the coffee sector are involved, we hope that will soon be certified fair trade to allow the fact that everyone in the sector do respect the traceability standards, the social parameters too, and that all the actors, the stakeholders, do commit themselves. Just remember that some years ago, everyone, all young people were like moved to work in Anapak. They were proud of it, of working here. Now it has changed. We should try to come back to those 100,000 tons a year of production, and we have to professionalize ourselves to succeed in that perspective, and that's what we're facing. In order to conclude, more or less, I think there are a lot of questions we have to tackle, but the main thing is that we can't do anything alone. But with the support of everyone, the bigs and the small ones, before there were a lot of washing stations in the south of Kivu and in different regions of Congo. There were big washing stations, and they almost all have disappeared from the 1980s. The fields are there, of sometimes infrastructure. So we could make even the double of the 1970s production and come back in this game if we all commit ourselves. I've been committed in this sector for the last 30 years. I could talk a lot about it, and I don't want to abuse of the time, and I know we'll succeed in it. Thank you a lot.
I know that you have 30 years of experience in the coffee sector. We have shared with you and the progress that we have and also the challenges, because we have to recognize that we have so many challenges to face, and the buyers, they are having with logistics, as Adler mentioned, and the communication difficulties, and we see they're willing to face all the challenges, and I thank you very much, because you share with your experiences with us, and so many experiences of this sector. I have so many questions. I'm going to ask them, and we're going to answer a very good number of questions. A very concrete question, concise. Maybe for Adler. What represents 3 lots per year in kilo in kilo measure? Zawadi, can you? How much coffee this represents? Zawadi. You're in mute, Zawadi. Thank you. C'est Willy. It's Willy that this represents 58 tons of green coffee. It's a potential with the conditions that we have now. This potential, it's going to increase in the years coming. It's the coffee that we can put in a container. It's 58 or 57 tons produced by women. The other questions? For IFCA? It's for Julie. What's the strategy to have access to land for the coffee sector for these vulnerable women. IFCA found some other sectors in this terrain. The problem that we cannot start everything at the same time. So the different organizations like NNPC, the Paysanne Academy, all the different organizations, the peasants, women, they're in advance to IFCA around in the acquiring more land or having more land available to. We are working in synergy with the other organizations that we cannot do everything at the same time. So IFCA leave the plea to these organizations. Thank you very much. Another question? We have so many questions with the participants, but also with buyers of the world. Buyers in my country, like Kate, and she has a boutique of specialty coffee coming from women of COOPADE, Zawadi. And the question is, do we have something different to buy coffee, otherwise than coffee, that we can share with them? So I say that's another question. Do we have another product than coffee? Or do we have any other ways to connect with you, to promote your products? We have so many questions, so many activities. Julie is answering. I was saying that we have so many opportunities in Congo. It's not buying. It's our main objective. It's to sell our coffee, but we have so many options that we can use to intervene in different trainings, and we're quite far away from the different global expectations. And selling the coffee, it's that the numbers that we see with the different financial institutions, and we have so many different action. What we want really is to sell, but we need to also understand the markets. If I understand well, we have the possibility to make some exchanges like we do right now, and to know the different realities in both ways. And we have to take this advantage, and it's a very good thing to connect ourselves. Thank you very much, Julie. Another question, Zawadi. How can the cooperative COOPADE to understand and to protect the national park and the development of this coffee sector? What are the activities to improve or to promote this coffee production? The protection of the park. What do you do to protect the park? Thank you for this preoccupation, or this or from our participants, what it concerns the different strategy that we're using to protect these protected areas. We are raising awareness of women that the women are the main actress that she's the main actress. Taking count of that we are promoting, that it's training a woman, it's training a country. When she's going to participate in the protection of the protected areas, particularly of our Virunga Park, she will be in measure to promote and to raise awareness for the young people and men, and because their participation is very important, and she has other activities too. She's getting the revenue that are going to help her to manage their own revenues, to be helped to cover their own needs. To have more participation and to get implicated in the destruction of the park. Thank you very much, Zawadi. Two different questions. Tyler Schultz. This is concerning the investment. What opportunities do you see for the investments in transforming this project as a final product to install different factories with this Congo? And do we have opportunities for the investors, international investors, to establish the washing stations or transform coffee? Do we have any opportunities for the international investors? Who would like to answer? Concerning the opportunities, we're going to Zawadi Adlar is going to answer. Thank you to giving me the chance to answer this question. The opportunities are there. First, of the Virunga National Park, the challenge of the investors in Congo is the electrical power or to support the coffee sector, because we don't have enough power or electricity I think we have a problem, a connection problem. We have the possibility to have access to electricity, and that will allow to work concerning to have different finance products. We're going to have a connection Virunga investment to facilitate this operator to do the work. I would like to say that in this park we have people that are producing chocolate at Congo with the cocoa produced in Congo, that it's going to be consumed in the country. It's a very interesting thing, and it's going to have a young producer of cocoa to have a revenue, a sure revenue. I think that, as Julie said, to have these coffee shops. It's a market. The Congolese people are ready to consume this to buy these products, but they don't know where to do it. And the purification of coffee, that it's a potential, because we have a good coffee and fresh coffee that it's available. That's something really important, and we have the possibility to see the connection between with some banks in Congo that have the money, but they don't know to whom they're going to lend this money. And with this opportunity, we have the possibility to have the right financement to do that. I don't know if I answered the question to answer the person that asked the question. Thank you, Adlar. Another question concerning financement. We see like a brute capital that financing the harvests to export. Do we have some means to find other alternatives? And as Adler said, like that the banks can finance the coffee production, the cooperatives can have their working capital. How can we have this financement of the Congolese sector in the Congolese area or national? Someone wants to answer this question? How can we make participate the banks in Congo to finance the coffee sector? Adlar, do you have something to say? Yes. I think that well, in my experience, I'm going to explain when I was young. At that time, the country with the banks, the money, it was available to all the exporters to, at that time, all the producers were included, then the state structures, and the access was not to financement was not. With the strategy of the government, we have a possibility to see if the problem is well presented by the different actors, and if today some actors are having access as a capital, like foreigners, foreign countries, foreign banks. I think if I ask this question with the bankers, maybe we will have the possibility to use these financements with the local banks, and it will promote easily the actors, and they will have access to. And I was saying in my intervention, we have to ensure this partnership for the buyers and the producers. It's there, and that the contracts are well defined, and to make sure that these contracts are of benefit for the banks and for the producers too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adlar. Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much for the appreciation for this webinar. We'll thank the organizers. And we're going to the end. We're arriving to the end. I would like to. And Il y a des dernières paroles.
Regarding the progresses having been harvested, would you have a vision around changing something, aims to reach within the next 3 years, something of that kind? But before giving you the opportunity to think about that, I would like first to thank a lot Kevin, Nicolas, the Airground team, the Atlas team, the ELAN organizers too, who helped organizing this webinar. I want to remind you too that the third webinar will be quite concrete. It will be organized around the tasting table. I'm not sure how we'll organize that, but we'll have good ideas for that for sure. It'll be a virtual tasting table to appreciate the products. It'll be organized in March. So don't hesitate in registering for that webinar. You'll receive the details and practicalities. So that's it. Once again, thank you to have shared your experience and offered time to this webinar. So let each one of the panel participants the opportunity to share a last reflection, thanking them again. I'm going to begin with you, Julie. Last thoughts. Yes, I have a wish for the next 3 years. It's to see a Congolese coffee developing not only in quantity but in quality too, because we're below the quality we're able to produce. And also both women and men, Congolese women and men, we can raise our productivity and raise our quality at the same time. My wish is this one, to reach that. And I want to stress to the consumption part that it grows, because till now in the Congolese population we actually do not consume much coffee, so to change in the 3 next years. Thank you, Julie. I don't see Papi being with us right now. I don't know if we have a signal from him. Otherwise, I give the word to Zawadi. Thank you again for the words and your words, Mr. Richard. We'll ask always an advocacy around competitiveness to encourage women coffee growers in Congo for their self-responsibility to their capacity to intervene in different fields. Adla, now, for the next 3 years, I'd like to see 10,000, and instead of the 10,000 tons being exported now, I'd like to see this being multiplied by 10 factor. And I don't think it's too ambitious. I know it's feasible with the involvement of everyone. And I'm thinking about my friend Paul, who's in the south of Kivu, who's committed with that. And I think that we can plan developing the whole sector throughout the country, we can multiply by a 10 factor. Thank you, Adlar. Thank you again to everyone I really think we all confirm that Congolese coffee, that has almost disappeared from the world 10 years ago, has come back. And we see we're at the very beginning of this process, and that the partnership between the producers and the different actors of this value chain, tightening their links and their cooperations with the buyers, this is showing the path of the future for us to go on. And I'm sure we'll make wonders in the coming years. Thank you a lot to everyone. Thank you to the interpreters too, who could follow our work. And we say goodbye till next time.